You open the blinds every morning without seeing the light. Make coffee without tasting it. Say, "I love you," without feeling it. The kiss goodbye that's become a peck at air. The "How was your day?" you ask while scrolling. The prayer you recite without presence. The meditation where you're planning dinner. Everything that once held meaning now just holds space in your routine. You weren't always this absent from your own life. Remember the first time you made coffee in this kitchen? How you noticed the steam rising, felt the warmth through the mug, tasted that first sip like it mattered. Remember the first morning you opened these blinds and actually saw what was outside? The light felt like possibility then. Now it's just what you do before checking your phone. The shift happened so gradually you missed it. Presence became performance. Ritual became routine. The sacred became standard procedure. Your body performs the movements perfectly. Muscle memory has taken over. You could do your entire morning routine blindfolded, and essentially, you do. Eyes open, but not seeing. Hands moving, but not feeling. Mind there, but not present. The same actions that once connected you to something larger now disconnect you from everything, including yourself. Here's what nobody tells you about autopilot. It's not restful, it's exhausting. Being absent from your own life takes more energy than being present in it. The numbness you think is protecting you is actually draining you. Every moment you're not here is a moment you're somewhere else, splitting yourself between bodies and minds, never whole anywhere. You feed the dog, but don't see the trust in its eyes. Water the plants, but miss their reaching toward light. Make the bed, but don't feel the fresh start it offers. Cook the meal, but taste nothing. Live the day, but experience none of it. The saddest part, these moments are trying to give you something. The dog's tail wagging, pure joy at your existence. The plant's new leaf, evidence of growth despite conditions. The made bed, a chance to create order from chaos. The shared meal, communion without words. Life is offering itself to you constantly, but you're too busy performing life to receive it. It happens when presence becomes optional, when efficiency matters more than experience, when speed replaces soul, when completion gets mistaken for connection. But here's what your exhaustion is trying to tell you. Presence isn't a luxury, it's a necessity, not for spiritual reasons, for survival reasons, because a life unwitnessed, even by yourself, slowly becomes a life unlived. Because going through motions without meaning isn't living, it's lasting. The ritual wants to return. You can feel it in the pause before you automatically reach for your phone, in the moment before the habit kicks in the space between sleep and waking, where you remember what awareness feels like. The ritual is there, waiting under the habit, waiting for you to remember the difference. The difference is presence. Same blinds, same coffee, same kiss, same words. But when presence enters, everything changes. The blinds aren't just opened, light is invited. The coffee isn't just made, care is offered. The kiss isn't just given, love is exchanged. The words aren't just said, connection is created. You know this because occasionally, accidentally, you slip back into presence. Something breaks the pattern. A bird at the window. The coffee runs out. Your partner holds the kiss a second longer. And suddenly, you're back in your life, wondering where you've been. Those moments of return show you something crucial. You haven't lost the ability to be present. You've just forgotten to choose it. The ritual isn't gone. It's just buried under repetition. The sacred isn't lost. It's just waiting for your return. Every morning, the same choice disguised as routine. Open blinds or invite light. Make coffee or create comfort. Feed the dog or care for life. Kiss goodbye or choose connection. The actions look identical from the outside, but you know the difference. Your soul knows the difference. The word ritual comes from an ancient root meaning to fit together. That's what presence does. It fits you back together with your life. Makes you whole in the moment you're in. Connects you to what you're doing while you're doing it. Without presence, you're scattered across time. Part of you in yesterday's regret, part in tomorrow's anxiety. Nothing left for now. The habit keeps your body moving while your being is elsewhere. But ritual calls all of you home. Gathers your scattered pieces into this moment, this action, this breath. You think you don't have time for presence, but presence is what creates time. When you're fully here, time expands. The rushed morning suddenly has space. The automatic evening suddenly has depth. The mindless routine suddenly has meaning. You've seen what happens when presence enters one simple action, just one. The hand on the cord suddenly felt. The light entering suddenly seen. The room changing, suddenly noticed. The day beginning, suddenly real. Not because it's spiritual, because you're actually there for your own life. The same action that was empty becomes full. The same moment that was rushed becomes rich. The same routine that was draining becomes nourishing. Nothing changed except everything, because you returned. But there's something deeper happening. The habits that replaced your rituals, they're not random. They're protective. They emerged for a reason. The morning you stopped seeing the light when you opened the blinds, that was the morning after something broke in you. Maybe it was subtle. Maybe it was seismic. But something shifted and presence became dangerous. Because to be present meant to feel what you were going through. And what you were going through was too much. So, you automated. Turned yourself into a machine that could function without feeling. Created routines that could carry you through days you couldn't bear to experience. The habit wasn't laziness. It was survival. The coffee you make without tasting. When did taste become too much? When did the simple pleasure of warmth and flavor become something you couldn't afford to feel? Because pleasure is vulnerable. Joy is risky. To taste sweetness means you might also taste bitterness. So you stopped tasting altogether. You've been protecting yourself from your own life, using absence as armor, deploying habit as a shield against the overwhelming reality of being fully here. Because being fully here means feeling fully. And feeling fully means acknowledging what's not working, what's been lost, what needs to change. Your family notices. They feel the shell where substance used to be, the outline where presence used to live. They get your body, but not your being. Your words, but not your warmth. Your routine, but not your ritual. And they're starving for the real you, even if they can't name what's missing. You seem distant, they say. You're right here, you respond. Both are true. You've mastered the art of distant presence, of being physically close while energetically absent, of sharing space without sharing self. They reach for you and find only the shape of you. They speak to you and hear only the echo of you. They love you and touch only the memory of who you used to be when you were still here. The children feel it most. They don't have words for it yet, but they know. They know when your eyes are on them, but your attention is elsewhere. They know when your body is in the room, but you are not. They're learning from you that this is what love looks like, present but absent, there but gone. They're learning that intimacy means proximity without connection. And they'll carry this template into every relationship they ever have. But here's what your soul knows. You can't selectively numb. When you shut down to avoid pain, you shut down to everything. When you automate to avoid feeling, you automate away aliveness. When you turn ritual into habit to protect yourself, you also protect yourself from the very experiences that could heal what hurt you in the first place. Presence is where feeling lives. Feeling is where healing happens. The return to life runs through returning to the moment you're in, even when that moment contains difficulty, especially when it contains difficulty. Because difficulty engaged with presence transforms. Difficulty avoided through habit just accumulates. Every morning offers the same invitation: return. Every routine contains the possibility of ritual. Every habit holds the seed of presence, not because you should, not because it's spiritual, because something in you is slowly fading from your own absence, and presence is the only way back. The resistance to returning is real. It whispers all the reasons you checked out in the first place, all the pain that awaits, all the feelings you've been avoiding, all the truths presence would force you to acknowledge. The resistance knows that returning to ritual means returning to reality. And reality includes everything you've been using habit to avoid. But reality also includes everything you've been missing. The actual taste of morning, the real feeling of connection, the true experience of being alive in your own life. You've been so focused on what presence might make you feel that you forgot what absence is already making you feel. Nothing. And nothing is its own kind of death. Maybe it's the relationship that feels like roommates. Maybe it's the career that feels like prison. Maybe it's the life that looks successful but feels hollow. Being present would mean feeling all of that. So you choose absence. Not consciously, but consistently. The habit maintains the status quo, while the ritual would reveal what can't continue. Sometimes absence is wisdom. Sometimes the inability to be present is your soul's way of saying, this isn't where you belong. But change requires presence first. You can't transform what you won't feel, can't shift what you won't acknowledge, can't leave what you won't fully arrive into. The presence you're avoiding is the doorway to the change you need. So you're caught. Can't be present in a life that doesn't fit. Can't change a life you won't be present for. The numbness that protects you from pain also protects you from the exit. So, you choose habit. Choose absence. Choose the fog that at least doesn't burn. This is the trap nobody warns you about. The very mechanism you developed to survive is now preventing you from living. The armor that saved you is now suffocating you. And taking it off feels more dangerous than keeping it on, even though keeping it on is slowly killing something essential in you. But numbness is its own pain, a dull, chronic ache that never quite resolves. The pain of unlived life, of unexperienced experience, of being a ghost in your own existence. It doesn't hurt like presence might hurt, but it hurts longer, forever, actually. The quiet devastation of days you were given, but didn't receive. The ritual is calling you back to truth, to reality, to feeling everything. The ritual doesn't promise ease, it promises aliveness. And aliveness includes the full spectrum: joy and sorrow, connection and loneliness, meaning and emptiness. All of it felt fully, lived completely. This is what you're actually afraid of. Not the absence, but the presence. Not the habit, but the ritual. Not the numbness, but the feeling. Because feeling would change everything. And part of you, maybe most of you, isn't ready for everything to change. So you make small bargains. Little returns to presence that don't threaten the overall absence. A mindful breath here, a conscious sip there. Enough presence to say you're trying, not enough to actually transform. You titrate your awareness like medicine, careful not to overdose on reality. Your soul is getting impatient. The returns to presence are becoming more urgent. The absence is becoming more unbearable. The habit is wearing thin, and the ritual is pressing through. Not because you're becoming more spiritual, because you're running out of time. Every morning you open those blinds is one fewer morning you'll open blinds. The finite nature of life is pressing against the infinite loop of your absence. You feel it more acutely now. The weight of unlived moments, the accumulation of unopened presents, the stack of days you were given but didn't receive. Time is becoming real to you in a way it wasn't when you thought you had forever. This isn't about death. It's about life, about how much of it you're willing to miss, about how many mornings you'll sleepwalk through before you decide to wake up, about how much of your existence you'll automate before you choose to actually exist. The ritual isn't waiting for perfect conditions. It's waiting for your imperfect return. Right now, in the middle of the mess, in the center of the life you've been avoiding. Here's the secret nobody teaches. You don't sustain presence. You return to it, over and over, 1,000 times a day. Each return a small homecoming. Each noticing a tiny awakening. Every moment you notice you're absent is itself a moment of presence. The noticing is the return. The recognition that you've been gone is itself arrival. Presence isn't a task. It's not something you do. It's something you allow yourself to be. The moment it becomes a goal, you've already left the present to chase a future state. The moment you try to achieve presence, you've lost it. Think about the last time you were genuinely present without trying. Maybe it was crisis when everything else fell away. Maybe beauty that stopped you mid-stride. Maybe grief that cracked you open. These moments didn't require intention. They required surrender. But instead of celebrating the return, you judge the absence. Instead of honoring the noticing, you criticize the forgetting. What if you stopped? Every morning, the same choice. But something shifts when you know what you know, feel what you feel, carry all the moments you've missed. The choice looks the same, but feels different. The blinds open and the light enters. Sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't. Sometimes it hits your skin like forgiveness. Sometimes it's just another motion. Light entering the room like the invitation it's always been, whether you receive it or not. One morning, nobody knows when, the threshold gets crossed without thinking. The blinds open and the light is seen, because that's just what happens now. The coffee is made and tasted because that's just who you are now. I love you is said and meant because that's just how you live now. The ritual returns as nature, as presence, as who you've become. The habit fades, not because it was defeated, but because its protection is no longer needed. Not because you tried harder, but because you finally stopped running from your own life, because you finally let yourself come home. Until then, returns happen. Gentle returns, small enough not to trigger resistance. A conscious breath, a sip truly tasted, 3 seconds of presence, then 5, then a whole morning where you actually lived instead of just lasted. The light is already entering. It always was. It will enter again tomorrow and the morning after, and every morning you have left. Patient as dawn, faithful as sunrise, waiting for the day you finally see it, not demanding that you notice, not punishing you for missing it, just arriving, again and again, like love that doesn't keep score, like grace that doesn't require earning, like life that keeps offering itself, no matter how many times you've been too absent to receive. What if the sacred never left and was simply waiting for you to notice?